Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to Fun Facts Daily. I'm your host Kyle Wood, and today we'll be learning about Nintendo. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little game, a challenge to see if you can tell truth from fiction. Consider this. Nintendo, the famous video game company, was founded long before video games were invented. Nintendo actually got started right around the same time the Electron was discovered. What do you think? Could a video game company actually predate video games themselves? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is pixel. If you've ever played an old Nintendo game like Super Mario Bros. Or The Legend of Zelda on NES, you've seen pixels in action, even if you didn't call them that. The word pixel is a portmanteau, a blend of two words, picture and element. It refers to the smallest single unit of information that makes up a digital image on a display screen. It's the tiny individual squares of color that make up the picture on your TV or computer monitor. In the early days of video games, like those iconic Nintendo titles, displays had very low resolutions. This means there were far fewer pixels on the screen, making each individual pixel quite noticeable. Game artists had to be incredibly clever and precise, meticulously placing each pixel to create recognizable characters, objects, and environments. This constraint actually gave rise to pixel art as a distinct and beloved art form, where the deliberate arrangement of these tiny squares creates a unique and often charming mosaic-like aesthetic that is still celebrated today. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about Nintendo. Number 1. Nintendo's first major video game success with Donkey Kong and Mario came about when the company was scrambling to repurpose arcade machines after a huge failure with a game called Radarscope. Before Donkey Kong became a smash hit, Nintendo of America released Radarscope in 1980. The game was a space shooter similar to the concept of Space Invaders, and Nintendo had high hopes for it. They manufactured 3,000 arcade cabinets, expecting it to be a huge success in the burgeoning American arcade market. But Radarscope was a massive flop, with only about 1,000 units selling. The remaining 2,000 cabinets were sitting in a warehouse, representing a significant loss for the company. Nintendo of America was desperate to convert these new cabinets into some other game, and it needed to be a hit. Interestingly, they took a chance on an unexpected artist, Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto had started his career at Nintendo not designing video games, but the arcade cabinets themselves. Despite his limited experience with game design, his unique artistic vision helped Nintendo of America produce its first big hit in Donkey Kong. This unexpected opportunity launched the career of one of the most influential video game designers of all time. Number 2. The iconic character of Mario was originally named Jumpman, and he was a carpenter, not a plumber. When he first appeared in the 1981 arcade game Donkey Kong, Mario was known as Jumpman, or in some cases Mr. Video. His primary role in the game was to rescue his girlfriend Pauline from the clutches of Donkey Kong. At the time, Jumpman was depicted as a carpenter, reflecting the game's construction site setting where he navigated girders and ladders. It wasn't until the 1983 game Mario Bros. That he adopted the name Mario and his profession changed to that of a plumber. They said they made him a plumber just because they were setting it in New York and they had a bunch of pipes in the scene, so it just made sense to make him a plumber. The name Mario itself was inspired by Mario Segale, the landlord of Nintendo America's warehouse, who reportedly came in one day yelling that the rent was overdue. Game developers joked that the landlord looked like their character, and the name just stuck. But the look for the Mario character came more from the practical constraints of the medium at the time. The bright colored outfit and big mustache were partially created just because Miyamoto needed to make a design that would be recognizable in the limited grid of pixels game systems could handle at that time. The mustache helped define his face without needing to draw a mouth, and his overalls made his arm movements more distinct even with low resolution. Number 3. The original design for Link, the hero of The Legend of Zelda, was inspired by Peter Pan. Shigeru Miyamoto didn't stop with Mario. He also created The Legend of Zelda, and he's openly stated that the character of Link was heavily influenced by Disney's Peter Pan. We can see the connection in Link's youthful appearance, his green tunic and hat, and his adventurous spirit. Miyamoto envisioned Link as a character who could embody the sense of wonder and discovery that Miyamoto experienced as a child growing up in Japan, exploring the mountains and the rice paddies. He often tells a story of discovering a lake that he didn't realize was there and just being overwhelmed with a sense of awe. He wanted players to experience this type of feeling in the expansive world of Hyrule. Number 4. Donkey Kong was actually the subject of a major lawsuit when Universal Studios claimed it infringed on their King Kong copyright, a battle Nintendo ultimately won, which solidified their presence in the US market. In the early 1980s, when Donkey Kong was becoming a massive hit in arcades across America, Universal sued Nintendo. Universal claimed that Donkey Kong was an unauthorized ripoff of their iconic King Kong character, asserting copyright infringement and demanding a cut of Nintendo's profits. This was a critical moment for the young Nintendo of America, which was ill-equipped to suffer a major loss at that point. But Nintendo's legal team, notably led by John Kirby, who later would have the character Kirby named after him in tribute, they successfully argued that Universal did not actually own the rights to the King Kong character in the way they claimed, as the character was largely in the public domain. Nintendo won the lawsuit and was even awarded damages, a landmark victory that not only protected their intellectual property, but also established their credibility and legal footing in the competitive American entertainment industry, paving the way for their future successes. On a happy note, it would appear there are no hard feelings. The two companies patched things up, and now Nintendo Land is a major attraction at Universal theme parks. And our fifth and final fun fact for today, a Nintendo Game Boy actually survived a bombing during the 1990s Gulf War, and the Game Boy still actually works today. People today often get frustrated with technology devices that seem to break down so easily, and we commonly hear that things were just built different and more resilient back in the past. Well, the original Game Boy seems like a pretty strong piece of evidence to support that idea. During the Gulf War, a US soldier's Game Boy was caught in a barracks bombing. The device suffered severe damage, being charred and melted on the exterior, but incredibly, the internal components remained functional. This miraculously surviving Game Boy was later sent to Nintendo of America's headquarters in New York City, where it was put on display. Despite the extensive fire damage to its casing, the screen still displayed a clear image, and it was able to play Tetris without issue. This specific Game Boy remains on display, serving as a powerful example of the console's extraordinary build quality and a quirky piece of both gaming and military history. Now for some news you can use. Here's a handy tip for extending the battery life of your Nintendo Switch when playing on the go. Turn off the Joy-Con rumble feature and reduce the screen brightness. While the rumble feature adds immersion, the vibrations consume a surprising amount of power in your controllers, which then draw from the console's battery. Similarly, a brighter screen looks great, but it's one of the biggest drains on battery life. By accessing the system settings, navigating to controller sensors, and turning off controller vibration, you can immediately conserve power. Additionally, going into screen brightness in the system settings and lowering it, especially in darker environments, can significantly extend your playtime. These small adjustments can give you valuable extra minutes or even hours, ensuring your gaming session doesn't end prematurely. Alright, time to take down the final boss of our Mythbusters challenge. Could a video game company actually predate video games themselves? Well, yeah, it's a fact. Nintendo was founded all the way back in 1889. At this time, their business was making Hanafuda playing cards, a traditional Japanese game. To put that in historical perspective, this was right around the time that Vincent van Gogh was painting The Starry Night, and the Electron was discovered by J.J. Thomson in 1897, 8 years after Nintendo was founded. Video games, as we know them, didn't really start to emerge until the 1950s and 60s, so Nintendo was in business for half a century before the first video games even existed. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about Nintendo with me today, and as always, be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.